Fatum Betula was released in 2020 and was created by a Texas-based developer called Butcher. In the past few years, it seems like these retro-styled games have been making a bit of a comeback. It was featured in a compilation with other games in the same aesthetic. This was the Haunted PS1 demo disc that was curated by an Irish developer called Breoghan Hackett. This demo disc seems like it was designed to invoke nostalgia by taking advantage of that old school aesthetic that was found in older games. Think of titles like Resident Evil and Silent Hill. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about seeing these worlds and these graphics that I think, personally, is more impactful than modern games. I think it might be something to do with the fact that they aren't realistic. These stylised retro games leave more to the imagination than extremely realistic ones, and are more of a kind of artistic statement. I suppose if I had to give you an example, imagine you're reading a book and you're getting clues indirectly about the world and the characters, and then imagine someone just telling you everything up front. When you leave things to the mind, it makes it more impactful. This is because you think about everything a whole lot more, and when something's clear to you, well, you don't really need to think about it at all. Now don't get me wrong, I ain't saying that all realistic games are shit, but what I am saying is that sometimes less is more. In Fatum Betula, you've got a whole cast of interesting creatures in the game. The first is a big clamshell looking guy that gives you some vials at the start of the game. He tasks you with watering this tree called the Fate Birch, with different liquids that are found throughout the game world. This is the central mechanic of the game. Some of the other characters that can be found are the artist, the mariner, the raccoon, the immortal, and the fisherman. Each one of them has their own goals and motivations, and they will all reward you with different kinds of liquids if you choose to help them in one way or another. The liquids that you choose to feed to the tree will directly influence what ending you get. There are 10 endings total, and to get all of them, you need to play through the game multiple times. Sometimes it almost plays more like a visual novel. Through each conversation, you will get hints, some subtle and others not so much. Each clue will give you an idea for where to go in the world, or what to get. Let's discuss some of the endings and how they impact the world after your playthrough. I ain't going to discuss every single one of them, I'll just cover the ones that I think are the most interesting. The first one that really got me was a blood ending. You're warned at the start of the game not to feed the Fate Birch blood. So naturally, the first thing that I wanted to do was to break that rule and see what happens. The first thing I done was went to the cherry blossom zone and grabbed the sword from a tree, and then I paid the raccoon guy a visit. After I got his juices, I fed it to the Fate Birch, and this is what happened. pretty grim ending if I'm honest. I can see why we're warned not to. With the player choosing to feed the fate birch blood, it creates a world where compassion and kindness don't exist. Everyone has a thirst for violence, and that becomes the norm. Now for something a little bit less serious. In the Cherry Blossom area, there's a big lake with a house in the middle. If you enter it, there's a painting on the wall and a bed. If the player interacts with the bed, they'll be transported to a dreamlike world, and if they take a step outside and go to the right, there's a weird looking artist. If you talk to them, they'll ask you to find a painting. If you go back to the real world and retrieve that painting that you saw earlier, they'll be very thankful and will give you some liquid bone as a reward. If you grab it in one of your vials and take it to the water chamber, this happens. Quite silly, I know. It's probably not what you were expecting, but it breaks up the depressing tone that these other endings make. Anyway, on to the next one. One of the more philosophical endings is immortality. If you enter the Autumn area of the map and go inside the well, you can find an NPC that wants the skull of an immortal. If you gather that skull and give it to him, he'll create a potion that allows you to live forever. If you take that to the water chamber and pour it inside, you'll create a world that prevents living creatures from dying. You might think this is a good ending, as everything can be experienced forever, but I don't think it is. If everything lasts forever, nothing has meaning. Also, just because people last forever, it doesn't mean that they're free of suffering. They might live forever, but do they age forever? Anyway, if you thought some of these were pretty bad fucking outcomes, wait till you see this one. If you go to this water pool beside the raccoon, and you mix the blood from the raccoon and the bone dust from the artist, you'll get plant growth. And if you feed that to the birch tree in the water chamber, this happens. Fuck living in a world like that, mate. Pure shithole. The last one I'm going to cover ain't as dark as the previous one, and it ain't as silly as the Bone one either. This ending's a lot more philosophical and brings up themes of existentialism. Each creature in the game is given free will, but before I get into that, I'll show you how I got there. To get to this area, you'll need plant growth and immortality. Now the way I accessed this area was I used plant growth on a leaf that was in the autumn zone. I climbed up the vine and dumped immortality into the river, and then I ran down to the church. I then created a save point and repeatedly loaded it until a moon appeared behind the church. Now if you interact with it, it'll send you to the moon. If you keep walking forward, eventually you'll reach a set of stairs, and at the top, you get to meet God. It'll give you some liquid. This represents free will, and if you take that back to the water chamber and feed it to the fate birch, this happens. Overall, my interpretation of the game is that choice matters, but at the same time, you shouldn't get caught up in it. Why does your character have this much influence and responsibility in the game? Well, it's because it's you. I suppose you could look at the game like it's your life. You go to all these different areas and have all these relationships and responsibilities with different people, but ultimately, your choices are what affects the world and those around you. I think ultimately that's the message of this game. It's that your choices and you as a whole matter more than what you give yourself credit for, and that the world wouldn't be the same without you in it. I might be reading into it a bit too much, but it's an interesting thing to think about. And overall, I think it's a good, positive note to end the video on. So with that being said, thanks for watching my video this far, and if you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as I've got a few other videos planned in a similar kind of format to this. Anyway, have a good one, and I will see you later.